What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of History Before Us. In the first episode at the historic Oneida Bungalow Court in Jacksonville, Florida, I had the honor of speaking with former residents and capturing oral histories that felt like real treasures. Today, we're taking it a step further. I'm talking with Navy veteran Spencer Fletcher to talk about the history of the Oneida courts and the preservation work he's doing to help this community survive and be recognized the way it deserves. Let's get into it. So I'm here with Spencer, and Spencer, you are ex-military,
Yep.
so you're a veteran. Thank you for your service, and you have taken it upon yourself to upfit a lot of these homes here in this space, right? We just talked with some individuals that lived here, they grew up here, and they gave us some amazing stories about their time here. What possessed you to start this project and give us some of the ups and downs and some of the good things that have come out of this process?
Sure. I'll sort of start with some of the early history.
Yeah.
This part of the land south of McCoy's Creek was a land grant from the Spanish in 1801, and it became the Dells Bluff Plantation. Enslaved peoples worked on this land, and it extended south quite a ways for probably maybe 50 or 60 years until the American Civil War. And post-Civil War, it was bought up by developer Miles Price, and they wanted to make a freedmen's neighborhood, if you will, for recently emancipated slaves. And it got built up from there. It was only a 10 by 10 block region, but as far as early Jacksonville neighborhoods, this is one of the earliest African-American platted neighborhoods in the city of Jacksonville. It is a freedmen's colony or neighborhood, and it represents, early African-American life, post-Civil War, and pre and during Civil War too. Like I said, the neighborhood was only 10 by 10 block, but it was a very densely populated, one of the most densely populated neighborhoods in the city of Jacksonville. It was a streetcar suburb of downtown, and you can go now and research certain neighborhoods. Some of them are historically black, some historically white, and you can find information on them. This one you cannot find really barely anything on it.
Because it was just that early. Is that why? Or?
No, not necessarily. I think a lot of it had to do with the city running the interstate through here, the ash abatement that happened after that. That I use the expression.
So things may have got missing.
Yeah, I think the city has egg on their face, from this sort of debacle.
Yeah.
I'll call it that, because they did a lot of wrong to the residents, former residents here, and maybe it's something that they don't want to necessarily remember. But there's an east side. Everybody knows of the historic east side community. And this is what they call West Louisville. That was originally East Louisville.
Okay.
This should have the same namesake. It doesn't. The name had been changed multiple times, whereas some of the other neighborhoods did not. And probably starting in the late 1940s, early 1950s, when they started platting, this new interstate system plan, they had decided that they were going to run it through this neighborhood. And a lot of neighborhoods got the interstate ran through it, and it was devastating to those neighborhoods. It was tenfold more devastating here because we have the interchange. So I-95 and I-10, everybody knows those interstates, they meet right in West Louisville. And so if you can imagine, the interchange takes up like quadruple the amount of land that maybe the overpass would take up passing through. So it consumed greater than a third of the original 10 by 10 block area. And it decimated the commercial district. It decimated their access to grocery stores, their access to the butcher, to confectionery stores, to shops, things of that nature. And I think that really led to the decline of the neighborhood. And that's why it is sort of the way you see it is today.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Kim Pryor. I am the vice president of a nonprofit called Preservation SOS. We formed in 2010 in the historic neighborhood of Springfield for the sole purpose of stopping demolition of our historic structures. So we have partnered with Spencer to help to revitalize and restore this fantastic collection of historic bungalows. It is, I believe, one of the largest intact bungalow courts in the country. So it's important not only for that, but also because of the history that comes with it. And so what we would like to see is some city support. We can accept donations on behalf of the court, and we will expend those dollars once the The renovations are done on a reimbursement type basis, but it allows people to then feel a little more comfortable about giving donations to help to restore the structures. We certainly don't want them torn down. That's the last thing.
And so you've been with us all day today with the young ladies.
Yes.
How was it for you being a part of this and still having their voices and their influence a part of this video, as well as just the neighborhood and the advocacy as a whole?
I could hear and see the passion in their voices as they remembered their times here as younger women, as children. The way they talked about their Easter Sunday clothes, and they weren't allowed to take their undershirt off until a certain time and so forth. And the way that they helped each other out as neighbors, the people who lived in these houses, they all knew one another. And the fact that you couldn't get in here to live unless you knew somebody, that really tells how close-knit the community was back then. I learned some things. I really enjoyed hearing them tell their stories. And I think everybody needs to hear their stories. And unless they're told, then they'll be lost forever. And I think this is a fantastic way of capturing the stories, capturing the passion, and to educate those that come behind us. Because that's what it's history. That's what it's all about.
Long story short, but my interest in it is that this is the last remaining of one of the earliest, most densely populated streetcar suburbs, historically African-American neighborhoods in the city of Jacksonville. And I think,
was the Freedmen Bureau involved in any way, shape, or form?
No.
With the neighborhood?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, it was we just know that post-emancipation, there were people who were formerly enslaved that did, and we know that because we met some descendants.
Correct.
That lived here in this neighborhood, as well as their descendants.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just post-Civil War, there's a lot of folks moving to the city of Jacksonville. There was a lot of industry here and work. There was a lot of work, particularly in this neighborhood. And it was a popular neighborhood because of the proximity to downtown.
Sure.
So I think that my interest in it was, we knew that, and having worked with the previous owner, that the place was at risk. I mean, the houses are, they're still standing, and I don't want to say too much bad things about them, but they're a little dilapidated. They need a lot of work.
Yeah.
They're at risk. The property has never been broken out since it was built up in 1925, maybe even previous to that, and it's sort of ripe for development. We're in an industrial area. There's a lot of new development going on that side of the overpass. There's a lot of new development and parks being put in on the Emerald Trail, which is just a block away from here. So you have a lot of development around, and that generally means that these things are going to go bye-bye. And there's a lot of folks that were interested in the land, and I think that their predominant use was going to be some kind of industrial use or something of that nature.
Yeah, because right there, there's industry that's right across.
Yeah, warehouse space there and a CED Electric. And, unfortunately, that means that the houses will no longer be here. There's a lot of stories, there's a lot of history here, there's a lot of connections. So it's really important to me. You go around this city here, and there's some beautiful neighborhoods that have been so well preserved. 9 times out of 10, they're the historically white neighborhoods, and they are beautiful. And I'm not saying that resources should be taken from one to the other, but there should be some emphasis put on how the other half lived.
For sure.
You have one of the most complete historic districts, probably in the United States, right to the south of here. Huge. Yes. Riverside and Avondale. Riverside and Avondale connected to West Louisville. It was platted in 1869. They shared a border for close to 100 years before the interstate. The interstate sort of blocked them off from Riverside and Avondale. But now, when you look at the neighborhood on an aerial, Riverside and Avondale has probably 90% of its structures, retained from the early part of the 20th century. West Louisville has nothing, with the exception of these houses.
Yeah, this is it. So, what is it that kind of stood out to you the most when you first got involved with the project as it relates to the history of this site?
The people. I've talked to a lot of folks, and not necessarily for any project or anything like that, but people have mixed feelings about their childhood, and
Yeah.
and they may have some traumas, and they may not enjoy the place that they grew up,
Sure.
or they may enjoy it, but there's not a lot of shared experiences, and for some reason here, it's the total opposite of what you would expect. Everybody loved the neighborhood.
Yeah.
They adored the neighborhood. They took care of their houses. They planted plants. They would rake the leaves up in the street because the city wouldn't maintain them. I mean, they would do work in the right-of-ways. I mean, it was incredibly safe. They left their doors unlocked. No one had keys to their doors.
Yeah, that's what they were saying earlier.
And the group has stayed so close together, even after the mass exodus, when everybody moved out of the neighborhood. The entire group has stayed so closely together. A lot of them were related. Try as I might, I can express to them. I said, the incinerator was terrible. It poisoned people. What about the interstate? The interstate was terrible. It decimated the community. There is not enough bad things in the world that could change their mind about how wonderful it was to grow up here. So I think that's pretty impressive and sort of a wonderful thing, because I enjoyed my childhood, but not everybody has the same experiences. For some reason, when I talk to the folks out here, everybody has the same exact thing to say. They said, we loved it. It was the most wondrous place in the world you can imagine to grow up. Everybody loved each other. They took care of each other. If someone was sick, they would be at their house. They rallied behind people. I mean, they supported people. There wasn't a lot of dangers in the neighborhood that you hear about, in the Deep South, during Jim Crow era and all that. It was an isolated community. Everybody looked out after each other, and it was just a nice place to live.
For sure. So obviously there's a lot of work that's being done on these houses. What type of support is it that you need, that the residents need, in order to keep this sustainable for future generations, as well as to potentially create an opportunity for this to be put on a historical register?
I think right now that there are some folks that are working on, not I think I know, that there are folks that are working on listing this property in the National Historic Registry, and then likely landmarking it locally, which I think will happen soon.
Okay.
Of course, landmarking and National Historic Registry are great things, but it doesn't fix the houses.
Right.
And what it does is it puts someone, I guess it just adds a layer of protection that if somebody wants to demolish the property, that they wouldn't have the ability to easily, although
Sure.
it still happens. At the end of the day, it's just going to take resources,
Yeah.
Money and labor to come in here and fix these houses up. I think that I think that's doable. I really wish that the city of Jacksonville and maybe the state in some case had a little more interest in doing some basic city infrastructure out here, i.e. sidewalks and curbing and stormwater drainage and street lighting and things that make a modern community safe. A lot of neighborhoods, a lot of people take for granted that they do have sidewalks, they do have curbing, or they do have flood control with curbing and stormwater drainage, or swales in the street, or good road maintenance. There's a lot of stuff out here that's been neglected, and the reason being it's sort of a dilapidated neighborhood.
Sure.
And the city, I don't think, cares to put resources over here. But
Yeah.
I think my frustration is that if I say, look, this is a landmark property. This is really important. It's culturally, historically significant. Why wouldn't you want to come out here and provide some
Yeah.
city infrastructure?
It's pretty unique.
Yeah, I mean, barring writing a check, this is the city's responsibility to come out here and fix city infrastructure problems.
This is a city road?
This is a private road.
It's a private road?
The 8 houses on Goodwin Street are on a city road.
Okay.
And then Lewis Street, and then Edison Street down here, which we border all three. So,
Yeah.
So they have a responsibility
sure.
that they're not doing what they're supposed to do, in my opinion. So.
Yeah. And this is an example of one of the homes.
Mostly
that
renovated.
Some work is being done on it actively, and I see where you're trying to get some central air and heat in here.
Yeah, eventually. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. So as you all see, like, he's doing some great work. Making it to where it looks good and livable for someone that needs a quality place to live. It may not be a mansion, but hey, it works. And people that have lived in here, not in this one in general, but in some of these other ones, some of them are veterans.
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah.
And is it intentional for veterans, for you all to seek out veterans for these homes?
Yeah. I mean, I think right now, we were in a position that we were going to vacate some of the units. A lot of them were vacant when the property changed hands, and that maybe we were going to work on those units. Obviously, funding didn't happen.
Sure.
A lot of things didn't happen. So, in the interim, what do you do? And I'm a veteran.
Yep.
There's a lot of people in town that are in need of places to live. There's a lot of programs that help these people that are moving into places like this, and I work with a couple of them that house veterans and just give them a good stable environment to live in, and that right now is our the work that we're doing in the interim.
Yeah.
I think the eventuality is we want all of them to be fixed up and to be nice, and there's a threshold somewhere that if I ever lose control of the property, that someone would likely tear the houses down, but if they're fixed up to a certain point, does it become less advantageous than to tear the houses down? Are they going to keep them? So where's that threshold at? What point do I need to get to basically solidify the longevity of the houses, for another 100 years? So.
I got you, man. Are all the houses pretty much set up the same way, where you have 2 bedrooms and 1 bath?
They're all identical, yeah.
Okay, so they're all identical.
Yeah. Just mirror image across the street.
Yeah. Here's the original chimney right here. And so these homes were built in 1925, 1921, or 1928. I've heard a couple of different.
1925.
25 is it? Okay.
Yeah. There wasn't, when they were built, and especially given the nature of the neighborhood, may have been permits pulled, may have been building permits, and may not have been. So there's not a whole lot of city records on the exact date. We have some census material and some addressing material that sort of puts them being built around 1925.
Okay.
But we're not totally sure. But we know that it wasn't 1921. So.
Okay, I got you. Well, this is great, man. You're doing great work, and the guys that are out helping you, y'all are doing great work. Is there anywhere in particular that people can go to donate, or that can bring more awareness, like a website? And I know you all have the Facebook page, so if you can include all of that in your spiel, that'd be great.
Yeah. A simple Google search of the historic Oneida Bungalow Court, Oneida. Will yield some results. There's a Facebook group that I sort of utilize now. We do have a website, and it's also in its infancy. There's not a lot of information on there, and we tend to use it a lot for documenting historical data and stories and things like that.
Pictures too. They have great pictures.
Yeah. We haven't done a large campaign of donations or anything like that. But if that's something that somebody feels passionate about and would like to get involved in any way, even if they want to talk or come and visit or anything like that, Preservation SOS is a local not-for-profit.
Yeah, we talked with Kim.
Yeah.
She's going to be showing up.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and they're a great resource, and they're going to be a huge help. Right now, I think that's going to be the best place to send people to. They have the manpower and resources, I think, to handle that. So
for sure. Well, I greatly appreciate it, man. And so listen, like I always tell you, I know y'all know this tagline. If you like this type of content, please make sure to subscribe and share. They're doing some great things down here in Duval, Jacksonville, Florida. And this is just, it's an enormous initiative that does need some assistance and help. I hope that, me sharing this video on the platform helps get some eyes on it and some additional resources. But I think that we see how fast things are changing in this country as it relates to things from a historical perspective not being preserved. And so it's always beautiful when somebody is stepping up to the plate and they're saying, hey, this deserves to still be around for 100 plus more years. And so I just want to give you another shout out for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Peace.